Shalom, Israel. Shalom. This is the brother Quatazi Hawa back at another lesson. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha HaKodash. Double honors to my teachers, the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom to you brothers out there laboring in this truth and faith and sincerity. And for shalom to the families out there watching, waiting, praying on Yahweh Shai's second return. Peace and blessings to the house of David, the hopeful elect. All right, so I just got out the gym and I came across this article before I went in there, and well, it ain't really an article. It's just a little, short clip or whatever. But it's titled, Social U.S. Fighter Jet Shoots Down UFO in Newly Declassified Footage. All right, so it's a lot of speculation on that being a balloon or weather balloon or whatever the case may be. I ultimately wanted to point out and just report to the hopeful elect that, with Esau bringing out these documents and files, what have you, about, UFOs, aliens, reptilians, etc., just know that we're getting closer and closer to the end. All right. We're getting closer to the end because this is all information that would have otherwise remained hidden, right? Just like in 2020, when the veil was lifted, so to speak, and, a lot more people found out about, these celebrities and Hollywood weirdos and what have you, politicians, etc., and people in power and that have money. In 2020, we found out they was, drinking baby blood, kidnapping a lot of children and stuff like this. And, we we found out about all of this, okay? And that's information that otherwise would have been hidden. So that was another, notch in the belt. And then you got more and more talks of the RFID chip being used. It's not super widespread right now, but it's getting there. All right, there's going to come a time, and it's going to come a day where, the RFID chip is going to be mandatory for you to buy or sell or travel, to be able to work, to even be able to just function in this society. All right. So I'm saying all of that to say you can see that we're getting close to the end, right? Yahweh Shai said, if you can, verbatim, I'm going to roughly paraphrase, he said, if you can discern the weather, if you can look up at the sky ultimately and be able to discern the weather and say, like, all right, it's a cloudy day, it's going to rain, or whatever the case may be, or you look up, you see the sun shining, you don't see no clouds, well, the rest of the day going to be sunny then, If you're able to discern the weather, you should be able to discern the times that we're living in by looking at all the different things going on in the world, right? Like the few things I just mentioned. All right. And ultimately, we know that UFOs, so-called UFOs, are chariots of the Most High Yahweh Shai. They are angelic vehicles piloted by the angels. All right. Piloted, Yahweh Shai flies chariots, if you will, as well. All right, just like he did when our people were escaping, or our people, the Israelites, were escaping Pharaoh when he finally let us go, right, in the book of Genesis, when he finally let us go, or Exodus, if I'm not mistaken. Well, the Exodus was us leaving anyway, but when Pharaoh finally let our people go, right, after being stiff-necked about it, right? Yahweh Shai made him stiff-necked and hard in his heart, so he wouldn't. And then when he finally did, he doubled back on it and tried to come after our people, chase after our people, and Yahweh Shai vaporized his ass in a chariot. Okay? You have to have the spirit of understanding to understand this, and you have to have faith to understand this, man. All right? Because this truth, this walk, this is a thing of faith, man. You can't be like those Pharisees being over righteous, thinking that the law itself is going to save you, or be like those Israelite groups that feel like, or that teach and say, you got to keep all of the laws, because you can't keep all of the laws anyway. All right. It's through the blood of Yahweh Shai that we have this mercy, this grace, this window of time, right? Which is a grace period, right? We under grace currently. All right. But that's not a license to sin. That don't mean just go off and do whatever you want to do. And you know what I mean? You still got to keep the law, statutes, and commandments to the best of your ability. All right. Rehearse the righteous acts to the best of your ability. That's Judges 5:11. Okay. But this is a thing of faith, man. All right. And ultimately, I wanted to bring out, man, that like this shit is hilarious. While that do look like a balloon, you got to understand that there's no artillery on earth that can touch a chariot of Yahweh Shai. All right? There's no piece of military equipment or weapon or anything that they have that can even scratch the surface of a chariot. All right? And here's the thing, man. One chariot can destroy all these goddamn nations. So how much more thousands of chariots? All right. Couple quick scriptures before I close it out. This Isaiah 66:15. For behold, Yahweh will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. Right. So the chariots of Yahweh Shai, right, that people call UFOs, all right, are likened unto a whirlwind, a cloud, a flying roll, all right. This is Zechariah chapter 5 and verse 1. Then I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll. So this is Zechariah stating how he saw a chariot. And he said unto me, what seest thou? Like, what do you see? And I answered, I see a flying roll, right? He saw a chariot. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits. All right. So, that's just showing you chariots are likened unto a flying roll as well. Okay. Salakia, bear with me. This is Psalm 68:17. The chariots of the Most High are 20,000, even thousands of angels. The Lord is among them as in Sinai in the holy place. Right. So if now imagine, these nations of the earth, Babylon, Russia, China, all these nations, right? Iran. Imagine none of their artillery combined can even scratch the surface of a chariot, right? So what you think is going to look like when there's thousands and thousands of chariots, man? What you think that's going to be like, man? Motherfuckers getting vaporized, zapped right out their goddamn clothes, Chariots shooting laser beams, destroying shit. Okay? And you know, that's that great battle in heaven that's spoken about in the book of Revelation, I believe it is. Revelation, the chapter's escaping me right now, but that great battle in heaven is when Yahweh Shai returns. The nations are ultimately going to stop warring against each other and then band together, if you will, to try to fight Yahweh Shai and his army of angels, in which we know those nations will inevitably lose that battle, all right, and be destroyed. Okay. So I just want to bring that out real quick, man. You know, that little clip or whatever was just some bullshit. Okay, that was a weather balloon. We've seen. I looked for it in my phone. I don't have it no more, or I didn't put it in the Chariots album that I have, but on my phone. But you can look it up. There's like a few years ago, there was an incident where the military tried to actually shoot a chariot. Right, it was an actual chariot, but they couldn't harm it. They couldn't destroy it. They couldn't, the missiles did nothing to it. You see? And if you just look it up either on TikTok, Instagram, what have you, just type in UFO, type in Chariot, etc. And you'll see different people, even people that are not in this truth, that are not a part of the faith, they seeing chariots. There are a lot more chariot sightings. Okay, and just expect to see more. Okay, we're gonna have more on this as more news drop. But yeah, we're getting closer to the end, man. We're getting real close to the end. Gonna leave it off with this Romans 13:11. And that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. And with that, I'm going to say shalom.